Hi guys, Adrian the Porsche lover. So today I'm going to give you 6 tips on buying used Porsches. Let's deep dive into this subject for today. As usual, we will start off with a wristwatch check. So today on my wrist, I'm actually wearing a Rolex Datejust 1601 from 1970. This Datejust comes with a lovely silver sunburst dial. The warm reflection of the acrylic crystal is just beautiful compared to the sapphire crystal's reflection. Of course, this is a vintage watch. It comes with a no quake set date, and today is paired to a brown leather Zulu strap. Alright, back to the topic at hand. So these tips that I'm going to give you are ranking from the least important to the most important, meaning that the last and final tip 6 will be the most important tip that you need to buy a used Porsche. Okay, let's start off with tip number 1. If it's too good to be true, it most probably is. So this is often repeated for watch enthusiasts, and I like to apply it to cars as well. So end of the day, most people, what they do is that, let's say looking for a used Porsche, they will go to the online marketplace, be it Muda, Carlist, or Facebook, or wherever there is. They will sort by cheapest. I mean, I do that as well, so I have to confess. So that is not a good idea. There's a Canto saying, "Mo pen lang zang ye." So meaning that there is no cheap, there is no beautiful and good condition cars, which I said earlier, too good to be true. I give you an example. Let's say you found two 911s, let's say a 997. So one car costs you 250,000 ringgit and the other costs you 270,000 ringgit. That's a 20,000 ringgit difference. A lot, right? Okay. So end of the day, you say, okay, in the end, I say, Adrian, I'll buy this lower price 250,000 car. End of the day, I take it back home. But unknowingly, as most of the times, that 250,000 car, even though you save 20,000 from the purchase price, might end up costing more to repair, which is what I experience a lot of times. So what you should do is that never go for the lowest price option unless you have already got the car checked out. And let's say if you go for the lowest one, please be extra cautious. If you like my content, please like, subscribe, and comment down below. Moving on to tip number 2. Buy the car with the specs that you like and want to use. Before we start tip number 2, let's deep dive onto the available used car market for Porsches in Malaysia. We can break it down into 2 categories. Number 1, the recon or reconditioned car market, and number 2, the used cars. So we start with the recon. Recon cars are actually cars that are used overseas and then brought in with some mileage on top. So most of these cars are actually from right-hand drive countries, usually from UK, Japan, and most recently South Africa. Then we move on to the used market. So the used market also we can categorize into 2 categories. We have the used recon market and also the used local Porsche Malaysia cars. So as the name implies, used recon will be the cars that came in from overseas. They were registered, used, and then now the owner is selling. Then we have the used local Porsche Malaysia cars. So of course, generally I'm not talking the ones that are under warranty. So we're talking those are out of warranty, which is the majority of the market. So those cars are actually sold by Porsche Malaysia, which is the authorized distributor in Malaysia. How will you tell it's a Porsche Malaysia car? Usually you can tell very easily by the odometer or the speedometer. It is in kilometers per hour, whereas the UK spec will be in miles per hour. Of course, the Japanese spec will be also in kilometers per hour, but it will come with a square number plate for the back, and at the same time, the radio is up to a maximum of 90 Hz. We will not say that the UK cars are the best spec or the Japanese cars are the best spec. Every car is spec differently, so I will implore you to go one by one to see what are the specs that you like. For example, you might be a person who likes the cooling seats. You might be a person who likes the sport exhaust. You are the person who might like the sport chrono. So always go down and check the cars to see what specs they have, because in UK or in Japan, they can spec the cars individually, unlike Malaysia where most of the cars we can't spec it unless you specifically ask Porsche Malaysia to spec the car for you. Tip number 3, buy the seller. This is a saying always given by the watch enthusiasts of the higher level to those who are just starting to get into vintage watches. please choose the buyer carefully. Talk to the person and they text the person. Get comfortable with them. If it's a personal owner, you text them, ask them how's the car, and let's say if the seller is very unapproachable, unfriendly, and the day that might be a red flag for you not to buy the car. For a used car dealer, of course, you can look for reviews, ask for the friends, ask for a community. Sometimes they might not have good service, and that will affect your Porsche ownership experience, unfortunately. Ask for reason for sale, ask for the service history, ask for the current condition of the car. So all these things you can actually ask from them. And the reason why I say that is because if the owner or a used car dealer can tell you exactly the condition of the car, there is a very high chance that this car is a legit seller, meaning that they are not disposing the car because the car has issues. Because if they can tell you, okay, for example, this car needs this repair, and later you go for a check, you find out this car really doesn't need repairs, this means that this Porsche is sold without major issues in general. Tip number 4, higher mileage cars could be better cars. Controversial, yeah, right? So most people tell you, oh, you always choose the lowest mileage car. I would challenge that statement. Lower mileage doesn't mean better condition cars. If you're here watching this video, there's a high chance that you're actually looking for a used car. So the range will be usually between a 997 up to a 991 in general. Of course, there'll be some 992 owners who also PM me as well, but generally it'll be between 997 to a 991. So these cars are actually between 6 years to 16 years old. Big gap. So a lot of times Malaysian car buyers are a bit unrealistic, because let's say for example you see a 97 which is around 13, 16 years old, a 97.1 to be exact. They say the car has 100,000 mileage, so they'll say, oh, this car has too high mileage. I say, wow, come on guys, I mean, how is it high? End of the day, on average we do 20,000 km per year. So if you divide these cars, the number of years, the age of the car, and also the mileage done, so they are doing roughly about 6,000 to 7,000 km a year, which I don't think is a lot. The cars which are being used at, let's say, reach 100,000 km, where things start to fall apart, the owner would have need to replace or repair the car to get to that stage. In the day, if compared to a lower mileage cars, the low mileage cars usually are garage queens, where they just sit in the garage, they put under cover. So over time, those components will have a lifespan. The rubber or the plastic, they become brittle. So when you push the car, those components will break down faster. That means the higher mileage cars could be in better condition despite it having higher mileage, and will cost you less to repair in the end of the day. I've also done previous video detailing 3 common questions asked when buying Porsches, so I'll leave it in the link down below. Moving on to the next one, we talk about tip 5 and tip 6, the last 2 tips which are also interrelated. Tip number 5, the 3 C's. I created because it was so that people can remember it easily. Condition, condition, and condition. End of the day, when you're buying a used car, similar to like a vintage watch, and then you talk about condition, condition, condition. So I don't care how old the car is, I don't care how much mileage the car has done, but I need the condition to be good. Because at the end of the day, you are the final owner or the current owner of the car, and that will cost you a lot of money if the condition is not in good condition. Like I said earlier, the earlier example where we have 2 911s. So another point to note in this tip will be PPI. It stands for pre-purchase inspection. Always do a pre-purchase inspection. End of the day, so that you know what you're getting into. I can't tell you the countless lemon Porsches that I've counted, whether it be my friends or from acquaintances. And you need to be extra careful in this, because at the end of the day, you have to set expectations right. You are not buying a new car, you're buying a used car. So anything that can happen will happen. Anything that can fail will fail. Alright, let's go on to the last and final tip. Find a reliable workshop. This is the most important. So same to owning a vintage watch, you need to find a reliable place to service and repair your cars. Because at the end of the day, if you can buy the car, not an issue. Of course you can buy the car. But the thing is that if you can't find a good mechanic to repair the car, this will give you more headaches after you have bought the car. So you need to find a reliable workshop, which is, what do I mean reliable will be? Trustworthy and honest. At the same time, their mindset will be doing preventive maintenance. This will actually stop you from spending more money on the car in the long run, because I am assuming you'll be using the car for at least a period of 3 to 5 years before upgrading or selling the car. In conclusion, if you follow these 6 tips, you will reduce your risk significantly of getting a lemon Porsche and at the same time get a lovely experience owning a Porsche like myself. If you have any questions, comments, please leave it down below. In the meantime, stay safe, take care. Cheers guys.